Brought to you by Bright House Financial, established by MetLife.
More and more people are using their home as a cash machine when they're looking for a loan. But is using your house as collateral the real answer to paying your bills? CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us now to discuss the options that you have. So explain to me, Jill,
yes.
How do you use your house as a cash machine?
So here's what happens. Let's say I bought a house years ago. I now have equity in that home. So let's say the house is worth $250,000 and maybe my mortgage is down to $100,000. You can actually either get a new loan, you can refinance your home, or you can get a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, borrow some money against the equity in your home, and you can do something with it. Now, way back when people were doing this in the old days, they were doing it to say, put a new kitchen in. Then it made a lot of sense, right? I'm borrowing against an asset and I'm improving that asset.
Right.
It makes sense, right? But then this was like the bastardization of a great concept, because then what people were doing is they were borrowing money against their homes to buy something maybe they couldn't afford. Maybe it was a new car. Maybe it was just living large, a big vacation. And people got very excited by this concept that I have money, I'm just borrowing it from myself. With one big problem. Vlad, you know what the problem is. What happens when housing prices drop?
Exactly. And that's what happened back in the bad old days. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why, unless you really run the numbers and you've got your certified financial planner or your advisor out there, somebody who's working this through with you, you should be very careful before you make this big step.
So are there any pros to using your house as a cash machine?
Well, I mean, let's not talk about it as a cash machine. Let's talk about it as
leverage.
Let's leverage our assets, okay? So let me give you the best example. You've got a house, maybe it's paid off. And for some reason, you lost a job, something bad happened to you, and you incurred debt. Now you've got, I don't know, $25,000, $30,000 in credit card debt, and that debt is costing you 19% a year. In that case, yes, I could take money and borrow it against my home and pay off that high interest debt, essentially replacing one type of debt with another type of debt. But my housing debt is, number one, tax deductible. The mortgage interest is tax deductible still. And number two, I'm doing it at a cheaper level.
Right.
So that's when it makes sense to me.
Right.
When it's really dangerous, the most dangerous cases that I've seen is not even so much for living large. It's when people say, I'm going to borrow money out of my home. I'm going to put a down payment on a new home. And then when I sell my old home, everything will be fine. That's when you can get stuck with a big loan and owning two homes, unable to sell your former home. So it's really important, again, run the numbers.
Right.
Run the numbers. I worry about people who are pulling money out of their retirement accounts. And the reason is that we can maybe say borrow in terms of a 401k, a 403b. You can borrow money against that, usually up to a limit of $50,000. And when you borrow money out of your account, it seems like the greatest thing in the world. You say, I'm paying myself interest, no big deal, right? Well, the problem is twofold. One is the money that you pull out, there's money that's sitting in a cash account, so that money's not working for you. And number two, if you lose your job, you have to repay the loan.
Are there a lot of people who are nearing retirement who rely on the money tied up in their homes to boost their retirement income?
So that's a really interesting question, because I think that people who are approaching retirement may find themselves a little short. Maybe the markets weren't so kind to them. Maybe they couldn't save as much during the recession and the recovery. Maybe they're helping out their kids or their parents. You know, there's a sandwich generation here that's actually retiring. For those people, there's a few options. Number one, you can look at actually refinancing your home. If you are an older retiree and you've really run into a problem, maybe what you want to do is actually consider a reverse mortgage. This is a really wild concept, so stay with me. This is a way for you to turn the tables on the mortgage process, and instead of you making payments, payments come directly to you. It's a stream of income that flows out of your home in the form of a type of home loan. Now, it is only available for homeowners who are 62 and older. You have to have a lot of equity in your home to make it work. And the older you are, the better it works. I would often say to people who look at all of these options, it's time to downsize. And that may be your very best option to reduce your nut and be able to live your retirement out and have some fun along the way.
Good, solid advice from Jill Schlesinger. As always, Jill, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brought to you by Bright House Financial, established by MetLife.